Together we learn, together we grow, together we heal, together we flow. Be cool, every teacher, every school. Hey, hey, hey. Be cool, every teacher, every school. Hey, hey. Be cool, every teacher, every school. Hey, hey. Be cool, every teacher, every school. Be cool, every teacher, every school. Oh, oh. Be cool, be cool.
Hi, everybody. My name is Todd Schul. I serve as the lead learner for the SCEA Center for Educator Wellness and Learning. We call ourselves Cool, CEWL. That is the name. And there is the website, cool.us or cool.us. You can go there and find out more about our mission to improve the inner and outer lives of educators here in South Carolina. And we are so thankful to the South Carolina Education Association and NEA for supporting the work that we do at Cool. If you're not familiar with us, just head on over to cool.us and you can find out everything that we do. All the live streams that we do, like this one, are posted to that website. Information about that we have on wellness resources, on our induction program with Dr. Marcella Weinsnyder, all that stuff is on the website. And you can also request free professional learning for your school or district. There's a button there. Just click that link and reach out, and we'll get back to you and set up some free professional learning. If you are a public school or district in South Carolina, we do that at no cost to you. If you are interested in joining the SCEA, you can do that really easily right here at jointhescea.org. We are proudly the state affiliate of the NEA, and the NEA is the largest labor union in the United States. Over 3 million members are members of the NEA. We have educators in every state, and we're just really proud to be a part of a union and to be doing the work of advocating for better pay and working conditions for teachers. And we can do that. The more of us that there are, the more power that we have, and the more effective we can be when we have that collective voice. We can take collective action and make good things happen for our educators who are working so hard each day. So tonight we have a great guest. I'm super excited. We met at Adventure, the Children's Museum in Columbia. They have a program called Adventure Connects, where they bring in a bunch of people from different organizations and nonprofits and companies and things like that together to just connect them all and try to see if there's overlap in the work that they do. And so I met tonight's guest there and heard her talk and was just really impressed. And so we're joined tonight by Chef Jessica Carswell, a powerhouse educator turned entrepreneur from Columbia. With a background in family and consumer sciences and a passion for wellness, Chef Jessica transitioned from the classroom to creating the Food Academy, where she empowers people through cooking, nutrition, and plant-based living. As the first Black-owned food service contractor at the South Carolina State Museum, she's been a trailblazer, working with schools, universities, and organizations to promote healthier lifestyles. Jessica's story is inspiring, and her expertise in food and wellness is perfect in terms of our Cool's mission to help educators thrive. So let's dive in with Jessica Carswell. How are you doing tonight, Jessica?
Hey there, I'm doing well, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing great. So did I miss anything in your bio? Is there anything that you'd like to share with folks that I missed?
I think you got it covered pretty good. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about, first of all, how you got so passionate about like cooking and nutrition.
Well, that's a pretty deep story. It started, of course, story starts when they're young, of course. I started out cooking for my family. My mom used to used to manage a restaurant here in Columbia, and I worked. She worked there, and she allowed me to come there with her, so I would get to go back in the kitchen and see the chefs doing their thing. And so that kind of really inspired me to start cooking at home. So I cooked at home a lot. Um, and from there, fast forward, I majored in family consumer sciences in college, of course, graduated with that degree, and decided to go on to teach family consumer sciences. While teaching family consumer sciences, I found that my niche again was food. So
Mm,
that's where I landed. I ended up teaching a lot of food-based classes within that curriculum, and then had the opportunity to come back home to Columbia, South Carolina, and teach at my alma mater, which is C.A. Johnson High School. They, at that time, were developing a brand new health sciences program, and I was responsible for coordinating the food science and dietetics pathway of that program. And as you can see, it's just food, food, food all the way through. And I finished up that career. I decided to take my own advice. What I advised my students to do at the time was do whatever you want. You can do whatever you want. So I decided to retire from teaching in public school and opened the Food Academy in 2015. And from there, we just kind of skyrocketed, and
mhm.
it's all things food.
Yeah. So, food is such an interesting subject. I think a lot of people are really passionate about it because obviously it's something that we all do every day. And we
Mhm.
do this, the holidays are coming up. We had Thanksgiving, the holidays coming up, and food is such a central part of the way we celebrate as human beings and the way we get together with our families and our friends around the dinner table, or out to lunch or even at breakfast or whatever. And so, like, this idea of food is being sort of it's playing the central role is important. But I think sometimes we don't eat with intention. And I think what happens sometimes, especially for educators, is that we're so busy that we just kind of go with what's easy, what tastes really good right off the bat, and or maybe what we grew up with, or whatever. And we end up eating a lot of food that kind of is empty calories or just isn't very nutritious, or isn't really, the meal isn't really well rounded. And then, or we overeat, or stress eat, and then we have a lot of health issues that come along with that. Since you were a former teacher, and are so well versed now in wellness and nutrition, what would your advice be to educators who may be watching, in terms of how do you how do you deal with the challenges of being really overworked and overwhelmed, but also, like, be more intentional about your nutrition for yourself and your family?
Well, that's definitely a great question. I want to start with what you mentioned about food being communal. It's really a very communal thing. Part of every culture, just about every culture, you can find food as the communal center point of people gathering for any occasion. And so with that, we have a lot of traditional foods in a lot of different cultures, and some of those aren't as healthy. So that plays a part in what people choose to eat as well, the things that they are used to eating, the things that they see all the time. And that also plays a part in the food knowledge that they have available to them. So jumping over to what you said about, just making better choices and being very intentional about what we choose to eat. It really goes to my suggestion would be meal planning. Meal planning is a huge part of being intentional. Planning and intentional, they go right hand in hand, right? So just really understanding what healthier foods are, some alternatives to the things that we're normally eating, because it's really hard to change habits
Yeah.
when you are, like I said, accustomed to certain things. And then, especially when it comes to food, people are very, very serious about their food. And if it doesn't taste good, that is a huge deterrent from changing habits. So making sure that you are able to plan your meals, know how your days are gonna go, plan your meals accordingly, and then plan for meals and shopping for things that will taste good and that are also healthy, and knowing what you're looking at as well.
Yeah, I think that's such a huge thing, is planning. And
Yeah.
I know teachers don't have a lot of time for that, but if you can, on the weekend, on Saturday or Sunday, take the time to really look at, like, what is my grocery list for the week, instead of just going to the grocery store and picking up the same old stuff. It's like, let's plan out these meals for the week and make sure we have the stuff that we need. But you raise a really good point that, like, what I grew up with and what a lot of family members grew up with, they didn't have the information around nutrition at that time. So we're kind of like carrying on these traditions of eating certain foods that may have like a lot of saturated fats in them, maybe a lot of sodium, maybe just or just don't have enough like vitamins and nutrient and minerals and nutrients in them. If you're just eating say ham and butter beans and rice, and you cook the butter beans and rice in like pork fat or whatever you did to
Yeah.
make it taste really good, and you're salting it and that kind of thing, and you're not getting enough vegetables. It's like, how do you get over that hurdle with people who are so kind of like almost, I don't say addicted, but sort of stuck in these patterns of, well, I want it to taste good, and I know the way my grandma cooked it, it tastes good. And you're talking about like adding tofu or tempeh or whatever kind of plant you're talking about adding. It's like, how do you overcome that mentally with people when you approach people with this plant-based cooking thing? How do you do that?
Well, we first start off with things that they like to eat. We talk about we allow folks to bring in recipes of their traditional things that they like to eat, their family likes to eat, and just talk about what they eat, and then how we can alter the ingredients
Yeah.
to what they already are eating to make them healthier. For instance, changing the seasoning blends, taking out the meat from those greens, that kind of thing, and adding in more onions and garlic and high flavor profile things to bring those flavors up so that it hits the palate the right way. And that's how I normally approach it, just to begin with, just getting input from people of what they like to eat, what they normally eat, and changing it up that way. And then we can get more advanced from there once they start trusting me that we can we can make food that is more healthy, taste good as well. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like so I like that. So the idea is to make little changes, not to go, okay, we don't have to go straight from, eating roast beef or whatever pot roast to you now you just can only eat tofu and kale. Like we find a way to like bridge those two worlds one little piece at a time. So like, give some examples for folks of how some things maybe they can start with if they want to experiment with this at home with themselves and their families. What are some sort of low bar things people can do to transition away from maybe some of these unhealthier things like a cheeseburger at McDonald's to something at home that's maybe kind of like a parallel to that or an analog to that, but is much healthier?
Well, of course, there's no real substitute for a good cheeseburger, right?
Yeah,
But but there are some things that you can do to alter your diet to make sure that you don't have to go completely plant based if that's not your desire, but you can incorporate some things to offset and make sure that your diet is more balanced, if that makes sense.
right.
So having those salads, having those fresh fruits and vegetables, having them in the home available for you, to make sure that you have that available. You don't have to go out and seek it in order to be able to enjoy that. Um, Out of just choosing meals out of the week to make completely plant based instead of having every meal that has meat in it. So those are some kind of transitions, some kind of ways that you can move at your own pace
Yeah.
with it. Yeah.
So when I think about when I was teaching, I was in the classroom too for 15 years, and I would go into the cafeteria and I saw what kids are eating. And then we wonder, why do we have these these health epidemics? Because they're not really, in my view, not really learning how to eat a fully balanced meal. And I think that this isn't a critique of our cafeterias, because I think they, in speaking with them, they do the best they can with the food that they're given, and they put a lot of times they put fruit on the tray or put some healthy things out, but the kids end up just tossing that away and just eating the French fries or the pizza or the fried chicken or whatever. What are some things you think schools can do um, to help young people develop better habits?
That's a great question. I think that one thing that I am an advocate for are food demonstrations. having sampling times, having times where people can, or students can, even the teachers, everybody in the school can get involved in something like this, can get engaged with different foods so they know what they taste like, and then also can provide some recipes. Okay, this is what this food is whole, this is what this food is prepared in something. And having that school nutrition can definitely get involved with that. I'm a huge family consumer sciences advocate, so any school that has those types of programs, the family consumer sciences programs with the food and nutrition and food science and dietetics, they can also be um, advocates and used in that capacity to bring that knowledge to the entire school. They can even partner; those departments can even partner with school nutrition. In my tenure in teaching, we did a lot of demonstrations. We even had a garden at one of the schools, so that gave students opportunity to be a part of the full process. And once they're a part of that process, that's the buy-in that you need.
Yeah.
If they grow it, they're more likely to eat it. So that's another thing. Having gardens and having students a part of the process. If they're part of the process and part of the product, they are more likely to understand and grasp it and incorporate it into their daily lives.
I remember, I think you had mentioned something, and correct me if I'm wrong, about this. You had students do something with eggplant. Can you tell that story?
Yes. So we were at myself and my husband. My husband is a huge part of what we do. He's the second half of the Food Academy. So we partner with Adventure to do a number of things there. One of the things was Tasty Tuesday, where we would bring the students into the garden. We had a garden there at Adventure, and we had all kinds of nice things, including eggplant and different melons and tomatoes and herbs and all of that. So we would go out and pick things from the garden. We'd allow students to go out and pick things from the garden, whatever they like, and then we bring it back into the kitchen and we on the spot create something there. Of course, we had staple ingredients already there in the kitchen, your spices and things like that. And so a student found a really pretty eggplant at one particular Tasty Tuesday. And so we said, let's try something with that. So we wanted to try something sweet instead of savory. So we made an eggplant crumble. And if you know anything about eggplant, eggplant is really um, it really picks up whatever you put with it. It doesn't have a very distinct flavor profile, so it really picks up whatever you put with it. So we were able to combine it with some cinnamon and allspice, nutmeg, and that kind of thing. We didn't add any extra sugar. We made a crumble out of some oh gosh, it was some oh gosh, some wheat flour and some arrowroot and some other things like that. And we made a nice little crumble out of that and placed it on top, put it in the oven, and those kids loved it. That was a very memorable time for me because we had to really think on the fly. I'd never had eggplant in a sweet application before, but it was really good, and that's one that we actually added to our repertoire. So we now have a recipe for the eggplant
Yeah.
crumble. So that was one, and that the kids loved it. And that's one thing that I did learn from with working with Adventure. We brought in kids that were, if you know anything about, of course, Adventure, they cater to kids of up until like age 6 or 7 or something like that. And so bringing those children in really early, having them a part of the process of preparing their food, understanding what fresh fruits and vegetables are, how they can harvest those and bring them right into the kitchen and make something delicious, really helped. And a lot of the parents were came back and had testimonies of their children wanted to picking things and being very helpful in the grocery store and in grocery shopping and saying, oh, I recognize that from Adventure, I recognize that, and then able to tell their parents how to prepare it. So they were able to take some of the education home, and I'm pretty sure that they are able to they'll remember that for a
Yeah.
long time. Yeah.
I think it's so important for young people, but I think it's also important for teachers, because a lot of teachers have grown up kind of eating the same old stuff. And I think, just like you said, this having this demonstration of, bring in some different types of fruits and vegetables and prepared in different ways, and let people just try it, because I think that's what it is. It's like, I think, people go to the grocery store and they look, you look at all these different types of fruits, and they just kind of go to the ones that they've always eaten. And then they'll buy a bunch of bananas, and then before they're even, they'll go bad or whatever, and then no, maybe eat one of them. But it's like, if we could help young people like try different types of fruits that maybe they haven't explored before, and maybe their parents don't want to buy them like 10 different fruits because they know if you don't like them, then they're all going bad. So it's like, it's such an important role that schools can play, because I think you probably have this passion about the idea of physical health is, to me, more important even than academics, because if my child is a straight A student, but they have type 2 diabetes and they're struggling with their weight, and they're struggling with health issues, and they get early heart disease or high blood pressure, things like that, because they're just eating Doritos and French fries and pizza and fast food and Chick-fil-A sandwiches and stuff like that. I think it's important for us not to sort of insert this judgment about that, but it's to say, instead of saying no, don't do that, these are unhealthy, it's like offering these opportunities like you're describing, where you're saying, here's another pathway. So it's like a positive thing. It's like let's be curious. What does a mango taste like? Or what is a plum taste like? What do these things taste like? And letting kids have these opportunities, but also teachers, because a lot of teachers, I think, get stuck in a rut. So what are your thoughts on all that? Like, why are you passionate about nutrition, and why is it so important that it be taught in our schools?
For all those reasons that you just said, just to elaborate a little bit, I'm from South Carolina. I grew up in the 29203 area, and historically, it's one of the 29203, 29204 is one of the they're now considered food deserts,
Right.
and also within that food desert placement on us, we are also historically don't have access to the nutrition information.
Right.
So making sure that we have that folks that are from my community and from communities like mine have access to that information, have access to just what healthy food is, just not just the notion of eat more fruits and vegetables, just understanding more about their health and
Yep.
being self-advocating for that as well, understanding how to self-advocate for that in the realm of making sure that they have access to the food, making sure that they have access to the information as well within their communities. They don't have to go outside their communities
Yes.
to get that. And then also with teaching folks who don't have that background, starting off, it doesn't have to start off so heavy. Health, health, health. That's really intimidating to a lot of people.
Yeah.
And so just mainly starting, we all love food. So starting there with love for food and bringing people together with the food. So these are the different foods that I want, being intentional about what I want to show you, and what, as the person, the expert, I guess, would say, what we want you to get out of this, being intentional about what we show you first. We want to show you some different fruits and vegetables that you can incorporate in your diet that are delicious, that you will like, and that will then pique your interest. Okay, then what else can I learn about this? Versus going in, you need to change your health, you need to improve your health, 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 health. So just not being so intimidating about it, going in real soft and easy and inviting, and then making subtle changes from there. And that way, the generation after, we're really planning, we want to help the people now, but we really, really are planning for generations to come and changing habits so that it becomes second nature to those future generations.
Yeah. So, I mean, this really is an issue of justice. And we talk about justice issues. I think in education, a lot of times we focus around the academic part, which is important. But it's like, to me, it's a justice issue that all children have access to what you're talking about, to healthy, whole foods and a variety of those types of foods, and to actually learn about what those foods, what our diet does in terms of its impact on our health, but not, like you said, not in this heavy-handed way, but just in a way of, like I've mentioned before, if you talk about, here's what eating like green leafy vegetables does for your body positively. I mean, you could talk about, yeah, I think we could talk about, if you eat a bunch of sugar, if all you're eating is Skittles and Doritos, here's how it negatively impacts your body. But if that's not balanced out with this positive message about, well, what do you want me to eat? like, and what will taste good, then kids just end up doing what their parents do or what they see people in their community do. So I do think I hear you talking about this issue of justice, that no matter what your zip code is, that you should be able to go to school and you should be able to also in your community have access to these foods. Is there, would you say, some people will use this, I don't know if it's an excuse or an explanation, that, "Oh, I'd love to eat healthier, but I can't afford it." When you
Mhm.
hear someone say that, what's your response to them about that? Is that true? Is that like an excuse? How would you respond?
It can be it can be both. It really can be both. It just depends on what their mindset is and what they know. It really is sometimes limited about what they know about food and what they know about healthier foods. Um, I think that a lot of times it's just a matter of just kind of getting down to the grid of, okay, what are your real goals, or do you want to know about this? Do you want more information at this point in life? um, Information is a little bit more accessible, so we can make sure that that information is readily available for those people who don't know and that have those reasons um, for not choosing healthier food, so that they have the access to the information. I How do I want to say this? In my experience, I have seen that folks are more uh, folks are more open to the notion of, okay, well, can you tell me something? Can you show me something? And that pretty much helps. Like you said, what's really sticking out of my mind is what you said about not having the time, not having the
Yeah.
teachers and the adults in these children's lives not having the time, and of course the children are going to follow in that suit. um I think it really is a family is a family a great time to get the family together, to understand together, to understand what the adults' roles can be in making that change, and then also then the children can see what the adults are doing to make those changes, and it can be a family thing. Okay, well, if I don't have the time, if I don't have the time to prepare meals, maybe this is something that I can do ahead of time,
Mhm.
or the children can do ahead of time to for prep, so that when
Right.
we do get home from school and from work, that it's not so tedious and so hard, and we don't have to revert back to the fast food and the highly processed things that take the least amount of time to cook.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a minute. Because I think one of the things I've noticed over the past few years is I think there is this sort of idea of meat versus plants, uh, and trying to incorporate more plants into our diet. I think the standard American diet seems to have like a lot of meats, and too many fried foods and too many French fries, things like that. But there's also this idea of, we've heard even during the campaign, this idea of whole foods versus processed foods, and how Americans are just really consuming a lot of seed oils and different chemicals and things like that in processed foods. What is your take, and how do you approach that sort of issue of whole versus processed foods when you educate people on nutrition?
We want to, at that point, we like to teach folks how to read labels and how to understand what's in their foods. Um, Packaging is just like advertising. People see packaging, there's advertising there. Oh, this says healthy, for instance. Um, Craisins. Folks would think that craisins are, oh, they're just, cranberries and dried cranberries. Da, 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 da. Well, if you understand and you look at the packaging, it's a lot of color, it's a lot of dye, and it's not cranberries at all. It's flavored raisins, and all of these different things. So just understanding how to prepare their own whole foods into those snack foods that they like. They can take grapes and run them in the dehydrator, and now you don't have all those preservatives and all those colors added and that kind of thing. Just understanding where their food comes from, the process of it, so they can, okay, well, then if I don't need to do that, I can just make my own. I can buy a dehydrator, and now I have all these, this array of snacks that I can make just from having fresh whole fruit around. So yeah.
Over the last 2 to 3 months, one of the things that I've done with my daughter is really try to prioritize, um, eating as many whole foods. So building the meals that we have around whole foods. So, we maybe have some chicken, just like chicken tenderloins that, not fried or anything. They just grill those. And then like some type of like potato or rice, just the potato or rice cooked. And then some type of vegetable like broccoli or, peas or something like that. And just trying to build our meals out like that. Or even for breakfast, it's like eggs. Like I might do one egg yolk with a few egg whites, and then that's our protein. And then we have like some raspberries or strawberries. And then if she wants it, she, sometimes we'll throw in like uh, some toast or something like that. But I mean, trying to build uh, meals around that. And I noticed once I started doing it, how much better I felt. And she started noticing she had more energy. She plays basketball. She started noticing I have more energy, and also that our grocery bill actually went down because we're not actually buying that much in terms of like bags of chips and bags of Doritos and Oreos and all the other things that we had been buying uh, in boxes and bags, Cheez-Its and Goldfish and things like that. Now we're really focused on when we're eating, and it doesn't mean we don't have snacks and things like that, but we
Right.
really try to focus on building our meals around whole foods. And I can tell you that qualitatively that's made a huge difference in how I feel inside.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And that goes back to the planning, being intentional, understanding what your goal is. Okay, this is what I want to do. I want to incorporate this into my diet. How do I do so? There are
Right.
tons of templates that you can find out there, meal planning templates that you can find that you can do day by day, meal by meal, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And once you find yourself in that loop of things of planning and following that plan, of course, in building grocery lists around that,
Mhm.
you'll see that you find yourself less stressed about what it is what am I going to eat? What am I going to? Oh, I'm off from work now. What am I going to eat? You already have that plan. You have that rotation that rotation of what you do or
Right.
changing. So it's a little easier. It's a
Yeah,
little easier, yeah,
it
when you do
is.
it that
And one of the things that I've used lately is Chat GPT. So
way.
I will go into that and say, here's what I want to try to focus on. I want whole foods. I want to make sure I have this. Here are the foods that we like. Here are the foods that we don't like, or whatever. And then make me a week meal plan, tell me what the macros are going to be, and then create a shopping list, and provide any recipes. And I mean, in 30 seconds, it's got all that spit out. And then you just go to the grocery store and buy what's on the list, follow the recipes, follow the meals, and you can always tweak it. You can say, well, change the meal on that you have for Wednesday lunch, change that because I don't like that, and then recreate this list, and it will do it. And you can put in any diet. You can say I'm a vegan, or I'm on Mediterranean diet, or I'm on a gluten-free diet, or whatever you're on. Please accommodate that in your meal plan, and it will do it. And I found it to be a really excellent resource because sometimes I'm not creative enough, and then I end up just eating the same meals over and over again, and we get tired of
Yeah,
them. And that's when you're like, man, a pizza would be really good right now because we've had the same meal, chicken and rice, for like 2 or 3 days this week. So be great to have something that tastes different. And then it's just like, what do we have? And it's like, well, just order a pizza, or just go on DoorDash and we'll get whatever. Um,
yeah.
let me ask you about this. So, because the title of this was plant-based cooking, and I want to make sure for the people who tune in to watch it for that. Um, a lot of people have this thing where they think tofu and tempeh, like they're, "Ugh, that's gross." And I think a lot of that has to do with the tofu they've had, maybe the way it was prepared. I've had some tofu that, like, hands down, it's as good as any meat I've ever had. Um,
Hmm.
um, Talk to folks about who maybe are interested in experimenting with tofu but have had bad experiences with it. How can they integrate that as a some meat alternatives, some plant-based meat alternatives?
So that's a real good thing. So with tofu and seitan and all that kind of thing, all those plant-based meat alternatives. It's all about how you cook them and how you season them. So with tofu really absorbs whatever you put with it. So marinating those things is how I really get the taste that I would like to have out of them. So a good marinade, whatever you like as a marinade. Personally, I like to use liquid aminos, any type, the coconuts, the um, the regular liquid aminos, all of that. Even if you like to use soy sauce, use the low sodium soy sauces, that kind of thing. Your seasonings, your no sodium seasonings. I like to encourage folks to make their own seasoning blend, so that way you can control the amount of salt that's in there as well. So if you get just dry, plain seasonings, just ground seasonings, powders, not the salts, then you can create your own seasoning blends, and then marinate those things. And then your air fryer, everybody is on the air fryer, so I definitely encourage using your air fryer, or even searing, stovetop searing. That gives it a nice brown, that gives it a nice crisp to a nice texture,
Yeah.
because a lot of times texture is a issue for folks when they're using these alternatives as well.
Mm.
So the consistency by which you cut the tofu as well is also a thing. So if you want to cut it thin, get a nice marinade on it, get a nice sear on it, you'll have a firmer texture there, a crispier texture.
Mhm.
And you can use it in salads, you can use it in sandwiches, whole nine.
Yeah. And the other thing I think people some mistake that sometimes they make the mistake of getting the silken tofu instead of the extra firm. So
Firm,
if you're wanting to try tofu and you've had you're like, "Ugh, it tastes like eggs," or something like that. Like, I don't like the texture or whatever. It's too wet and runny or whatever. Just getting the extra firm. And then I bought a tofu press. You can get those on Amazon. And the pressing out the water, because it's for those who've never had tofu. It's when you buy it, it's packed in water, and when you take it out, it's the cube of tofu, which is just like soybeans basically.
I mean,
It's wet, and so you want to get the moisture out of it, because I think what Jessica's saying, and I in my experience is true, it texture is a huge part of it, and you squeeze that out of it, and then when you put it in the marinade, then like a sponge, it pulls in whatever the marinade is and flavors it, and then it's about how are you cooking it um,
exactly.
at that point, and what kind of texture you want to get out of it. So some of the best ones I've had just have that crispy outside, and it's a little bit more tender on the inside, and then it's taking up the flavor of whatever the marinade is. Throwing that in with like a bowl of rice and some vegetables like broccoli or carrots or whatever you cook up, and you can even make healthy sauces. Have you ever experimented? What are some healthy sauces people can use for like foods to kind of spice them up a little bit or just add a little bit of flavor?
Tahini is definitely one. Tahini is definitely one. Like I said, the liquid aminos make great sauce bases, marinade bases. Your any types of vinegars, your rice vinegars, um, it, fruit juices are
Mm,
definitely, you can juice any fruits, combine them together, combine them with any of the ingredients that we just talked about. So those are some really good bases and marinades, bases for sauces and marinades that folks can try.
yeah, because that's what it's about. I mean, if you if you're just buying tofu and you're chopping it up and eating it and you're not flavoring it, you're not gonna like it.
You're
I
not
mean,
gonna like
you're not
it.
gonna like it. You're gonna think this is terrible. But if you just take the time, and there's so many resources. One of the great things about the internet now is there's so many great resources. Go to YouTube and just do a search for how to make tofu taste good, and you'll probably
Yeah,
find 1,000 videos, and just look at a few of them and see what makes sense to you, because you can make it taste like anything. Like, you make it taste like barbecue. I mean,
exactly.
I've had jackfruit, that I've had a jackfruit barbecue sandwich in here in
Uh-huh.
Greenville from this vegan restaurant, and it was as good as like a pork barbecue sandwich. It was amazing, and it's just a matter of how you're seasoning it and cooking it. So people kind of need to get past the idea of, ew, it's gross, it's a jackfruit, or it's a tofu, it's a soy, ugh, and realize that these things can taste just as good if you take the time and learn how to cook them right.
Exactly, exactly. Tofu is definitely one of those things that folks are shy, have shied away from, because they don't really understand how to cook it, how to prepare it, and they've had it prepared horribly, unfortunately, in the past.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah, pressing that water out, making sure you get that firm tofu, pressing that water out, understanding how to press the water out, letting it marinate overnight for at least for a good enough amount of time, so it re-soaks up all that flavor and that kind of thing, and getting a good sear on it.
What are your thoughts on like Beyond Burger, Impossible Burger, that kind of or Gardein kind of stuff? What are your thoughts on that as a nutritionist?
Well, um, they can be good bridge gappers. They can, help people to, curb those cravings for burgers and, meat if they're trying to go to a plant-based diet. But I don't think that there's something that should be consumed on a regular basis. I think that, like I said, you don't want to go straight from one extreme to the other. I'm going to go from eating meat, all my life to now I'm going to go vegan, overnight.
Right.
Um, that's definitely not realistic. That's a psychological thing as well. So you definitely psychology also plays a huge part in in our what we eat and how we eat and all of that. So we definitely don't want to cause any psychological issues with ourselves. So those kinds of things, those processed meat alternatives in that regard, I think are just bridges to we should consider them as bridges to not something to replace or incorporate into the diet on a regular basis. There are ways to create your own burgers with, of course, chickpeas and all the different beans that you can make burgers with.
Yeah.
Um, and I encourage people to find those recipes and learn how to create those bean burgers and those types of products on their own versus getting those that are processed, because then you can get back into the same
Yeah.
health concerns that you had before, with the
That's
meat.
That's kind of what I was thinking, Jessica. And I don't want to portray myself. I'm not a nutritionist, but my understanding is, these things, in some cases are better in terms of saturated fats and things like that, but they're processed foods. And if you can figure out to make a good tasting burger out of, like you said, like out of mushrooms and walnuts or uh, black beans or whatever, you can learn how to make, using natural whole food ingredients to make a burger and then cook that and use that as your burger. Now you're actually getting something that is plant-based but isn't processed. And I think that should be people's goal is to try to not necessarily replace a whole food, which is like chicken is a whole food, with a processed food, but to try to maybe find a plant-based alternative that's also whole that you can enjoy. And I think the other point to make here for folks is who are interested in plant-based cooking is not to see this as binary. You don't have to sign up to be a full-time vegan, like you kind of mentioned that earlier. You can maybe just have a meatless Monday, start there with just like a one meal a week, just replace your meat with a whole food plant-based alternative, and see how that goes, and then see if you can expand from there. um, before
Exactly.
we before we sign off, tell folks a little bit about the food, a little bit more about the Food Academy, and if they're interested, how they can connect with you and learn directly from you.
All right. So we're the Food Academy. We are actually contracted by the state to operate the food service operation in South Carolina State Museum. So you can always come see us there during museum hours. Our website is thefoodacademyllc.com, and you can find out about us there. You can learn more about where we come from, what we do, and how we do it through our website. But yeah, we operate a cafe restaurant. We are caterers. We cater all over the place, all over South Carolina and beyond. And then we also offer cooking classes through our mobile teaching kitchen. Our mobile teaching kitchen is one of my favorite things because that's the way we get out to the community and spread this great news about food and how to um, prepare your foods and eat healthier if that's your desire.
That's awesome. So you have a mobile. Could a school, maybe who's interested, have you come out?
Exactly. So we work with lots of different schools and organizations and higher institutions. We come into their facilities. We lots of this most of those places have kitchens, and a lot of times they're looking for somebody to put good use to them. So we
Yeah.
come in and we partner with those organizations and we use their facilities, bring in our resources, and we conduct classes and host workshops and all kinds of learning activities through that. Now, not everything, but most of the things that I do, I love to do hands on.
Right.
it's better learning when people get their hands in and they have the experience, they engage in the experience themselves. So yes.
Absolutely. So this is the website right here, the Food Academy. Should be LLC, right?
Yep,
Food,
the Food Academy LLC.com.
LLC. Sorry, folks.
It's all right.
LLC. Food Academy LLC, the Food Academy LLC.com right here. Check that out. Contact Jessica. I think that would be such a valuable use of time at school for students, or even for an administrator to have you come and work with staff and talk to them about healthier eating, just for as a part of a wellness initiative for a school or a nonprofit or a business who's just interested in cultivating and inspiring people to on their wellness journey. And like you
Yeah.
said, I think we can sit here and talk about it, but I mean to actually have you prepare stuff and people try it, and it's like a no risk kind of thing. Like, "Ah, I didn't like that one. Let me try the next thing," and just try different things and sort of see what they like and learn how to prepare things and, like you said, season things so that it tastes great. It's such a
Yeah.
valuable thing to do. So thank you for what you do, and thank you for your time tonight. And we'll have to connect with you and your husband later, sort of see if we can set something up for you to do something in person with our members and our teachers, because I think that would be a really great experience for them.
We'd love to. Thank you so much for having us. This was fun. I look forward to working with you again.
All right. Thank you so much, Jessica.
Thank you.
All right, that was Jessica Carswell from the Food Academy. Again, if you missed the website, here it is, thefoodacademyllc.com. You can go and find out about all the things that she does, the mobile service and the different classes that they have. And if you're interested in talking with her and connecting with her, you can find out all that information right there. This particular live stream, if you missed it, will be it'll be on Facebook, but it will also be, once I get it edited, on the Cool website. We encourage you to check out our Center for Educator Wellness and Learning, or Cool, on the website. All of our resources there. We talk about mental health issues, physical health issues, nutrition, yoga, all that wellness piece, but we also do a lot of advocacy work. So you'll see stuff on there, resources for our LGBTQ community, things on social and racial justice, and then, of course, our induction work with Dr. Marcella Weinsnyder. Really, really cool and innovative work that we're doing, and we're really proud of it, and hope that you will take a moment to check out the Cool website. And also, we just would like to say thanks to the SCEA and thanks to NEA for supporting our work. If you're interested in joining our union, you can go to jointhescea.org and sign up and become a part of the SCEA. And if you are interested, here are a few things we have coming up. We have, first of all, if you're not already checking this out, every Wednesday, Alex Del Castillo, he's a teacher in Horry County. He does free online yoga sessions, and if you connect with the SCEA on TikTok and on Instagram, you're going to find content that he produces. He does stuff on sign language. He does teacher tips. He does mindful moments. He does all this yoga stuff, and it's really great. So please be sure to check that out. And I mentioned our induction program. This is something that, if you are an induction teacher or induction teachers and they're not aware of this, please pay attention. It is free. It's online. You can go on your phone, you can go on your laptop. It's all free. You don't have to be a member of the SCEA. You just go online and you can get free one-to-one support. And you'll basically go to cool.us/coaching. And then and that's every Tuesday and Thursday night from 6 to 8 p.m. If you do that, you go to the website, you click the Zoom link, you'll get put into a breakout room either with Angie, Stephanie, or Marcella. And then you can ask them questions, you can get feedback. And these are like top-notch, amazing education minds. So you're gonna get that for free. It's like getting a free coach. And I don't know why. I mean, you should definitely take advantage of that. It's an amazing program, the brainchild of Dr. Marcella Weinsnyder. If you've not seen recently, you can go to the Cool website, and at the bottom of the page there, all of Steve Newsom's articles are there. It's called Cool Views. His latest one's called Discomfort and Organization, a really brilliant article. We just released today. Um, Cassie Owens Moore does a series called Cool Books. She is a school librarian in Oconee County at Seneca Middle School, and she released a video on diverse holiday books. So if that's interesting to you, you can find that on the Cool website. And the last thing I want to promote is next week. Super excited! My really topic of passion, which is mindfulness. I mean, I love practicing and teaching mindfulness. Jaleesa White is an educator here in the Greenville area, and she is going to talk about how mindfulness changed her life and how her practice did change her life, and how she's integrating mindfulness in her school. That's going to be a week from today. So December 18th, 7 o'clock. Please mark your calendars. Bring your questions. She has such, I mean, an incredibly inspiring story. You're going to want to make sure you stay tuned to that. So that's all we have for tonight. I want to thank again Jessica Carswell from the Food Academy for her time tonight and her expertise. Hopefully you learned something. Hopefully some of you will be inspired to try out some of these plant-based alternatives, or just to kind of start looking with intention at what you're putting into your body. When you think about that, and I've really done a lot of reflection on that over the past couple of months, really thinking about and being intentional with the things that I'm putting into my body. Because I know that if I put a lot of highly processed foods in, and I'm not paying attention to how much protein I'm taking in, or how many vitamins and nutrients I'm taking in, how much water I'm drinking, things like that. If I'm not really paying attention to that, then I end up in really bad habits and patterns, and I end up uh, just not feeling well. And it's not about like getting your body ready for the beach, or impressing anybody else with how you look. It's about how you feel internally, and also avoiding some of these health issues that we have, avoiding diabetes, avoiding high blood pressure, avoiding heart disease, stroke, cancers, things like that. It's about putting highly nutritious food that works for you. And everybody's different, right? Everybody has a different body. Everybody responds to things. Some people are gluten sensitive, some aren't. Some people, can eat a lot of food and have a really strong, fast metabolism. Some people don't. So everybody's got to find out what works for them. But I just want to encourage everybody who's watching. This is a time of year, in January, where we start thinking about starting new habits and starting new ways of being. And I did this a few months ago. I really started to examine a lot of different aspects of my life, including my nutrition. And it's really made a huge difference. I feel so much better the past couple of months, really being intentional with what I put into my body, and making sure I get enough movement and exercise. Really trying to increase the time that I practice meditation and things, and other stress relief. And it's made a huge difference for me. And so I know that it's hard when you're teaching. Hard to find the time to do all this, but hopefully, maybe this holiday break that's coming up, you can sort of take some time, reflect on what we've talked about tonight, reflect on what you're doing, and put a plan in place to try to make sure that you are well, because that's what our center is about: educator wellness and learning. We want you to be well in every way in every meaning that word can take on: mentally, physically, socially, emotionally. Well, we want you to feel good, and we want you to be happy and be successful and be healthy. So, if you have any questions or comments, you can always reach out to me. You can go to the Cool website, find my contact information. Again, thanks to Jessica for her time tonight. Thank you for tuning in. And we wish everybody happy holidays. We probably won't have a live stream. Well, we'll have one next week, and then that'll be the last one. And we'll be taking a holiday break, and we'll be back in January with some great content. But until next week, till next Wednesday,